our Let Us Talk It Zipinar, which happens every Wednesday from 12 p.m. EST, Eastern Time. And we come every Wednesday. These are professional webinars. We have professionals from all over the world. We always say that, but today I cannot brag more, saying that yes, we have people, speakers, and attendees all over the a globe. And I'll tell you in a bit why I say that, but welcome everyone who has been joining in on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn. And if you really want to interact with the speakers, they are open to that. They have been graceful to have spend time with us, and the best way to get their information, get their ideas being interaction happening is to join the Zoom link. Come on over, ask them some tough questions, easy questions, and make this interactive session, which Let Us Talk It always wishes for the community, absolutely be a successful one. So we are joined by two speakers from two different parts of the world. One from UK, London. He's Dexter, and the other from UAE, Dubai. He's Kishore. And they both have come with very specific topics. The first topic that we'll go with is don't sell. Don't sell. Nobody wants to be sold. Anybody coming, you pick up a phone and you see somebody selling, you want to keep the phone down. That's what we all know. So his strategy is, and the topic he has chosen is don't sell, influence and persuade to win business and motivate team. Well, how to do that? That's the biggest question. And we will be having those answers for sure from his the presentation that he has for us. Now, what about Dexter? Where he is from, as you all have known, he's from UK, London, and he is the MD of Audience Dynamics, or he likes to be called the Picasso of presentations. He's also an author, TV presenter, public speaker, and positive intelligence practitioner, something very new. I have many questions about those, but we want Dexter to explain that. And the topic, absolute honor to have you both, Dexter and Kishore. Over to you, Dexter.
Thank you very much. It is my honor to be here and to have such a worldwide audience. So thank you very much for inviting me. I first of all must apologize. I don't know if you can hear, but I contracted a cold. It feels like COVID, but it's the same symptoms, but it isn't as bad as that, but it has affected my voice. So I apologize if it's a little bit difficult to hear me. And also occasionally I may have a bit of a cough. So apologies to start with. My name, as you heard, is Dexter Moscow, and often people say to me, that can't be your real name. It must be a stage name. Well, it is my real name. I think perhaps I had parents with a sense of humor. But certainly in terms of stage, I have been on the stage, and I have been a TV presenter and very much involved with QVC, which is a shopping channel in the States, in England, and throughout the world. And there we were involved in selling all manner of products. It was everything from a computer to a piece of household equipment. And a lot of my experience of how to talk about not selling, but influencing and persuading has come from my involvement there. I started many, many years ago, as you can see, either by my gray hair or the lack of it, in advertising, where I think my love of words was started. And I worked in London with one of the first American advertising agency that came to this country. I found out much later after I left them that in fact they were owned by the mafia, which is another story completely. But as I say, that is where my love of words was created. I worked with some very clever and inventive people. But I had to leave that. I was made redundant because overnight cigarette advertising was banned on television. And literally overnight, we lost £2 million worth of billing. So they said goodbye to me, and I started an estate agency practice with my brother. And there, if you like, I started my first elements of coaching and training and understanding how to influence and persuade people, first of all with words and secondly with actions. And I helped my brother build a multi-office practice, open my own practice, when I was approached by a developer, Sainsbury's. Now, I don't know if that means anything to those of you that are outside the UK, but they're one of the main supermarket operators. And I literally had to buy a street of houses because they wanted half the gardens to improve the footprint of the store. And so I had to really understand influence and persuasion and how to persuade people to move from properties which they loved and take the money, as it were. So that's, I suppose, where my two elements of not selling, but influencing and persuading people. And then whilst I had my estate agency practice, I was invited by a friend to sell products for him on QVC. And I didn't at that point know what QVC was. I knew it was a TV channel. I didn't know that it was a live TV channel. And so a lot of what I'm going to speak to you about this evening, about that influence and persuasion, is what I have learned from literally speaking live, presenting a product, which it was there, but of late I work with my clients to help them sell themselves and their services and get people to do the most difficult thing in terms of QVC, which was to pick up a phone and order something, or in terms of a job application, a panel interview, which we're all experiencing now, how to influence and persuade people that they are the right people for the job. And so I would say to you, before we actually go into some of the elements of what I want to really impart to you, is that we are now, because of this medium that we find ourselves in, and because of the pandemic, of course, that we are all broadcasters and TV presenters. And so we need to understand the dynamic of how we influence and persuade people. What is it that helps people make a decision whether they will trust us, whether they trust what we say to them, and therefore that they are willing to do business with us. Now, I've obviously got an agenda of the information that I want to impart to you, but it is very important to me to know what you need. So as Yulan said, we have the facility of the chat box. I would love you to ask me questions, to disturb the flow. I don't mind that. What I would really love is to know what you need to know and what is going to help you. So please put a question in the chat box, either as we go through or at the end, and then we can have a meaningful conversation. So that's the key here. It isn't about selling. I don't know if you're like me, but I hate being sold to. I much prefer to be informed and to be consulted, because by then we know what we need and then we know what other people need. So I'm going to give you, if I may, two elements that really flow along with what my understanding of how to communicate with people. And that is this: people buy emotionally, they decide logically. So we need to understand exactly what those elements are. And somebody has just, what exactly do I do? But what do I sell? Well, I sell my own services. What I do is I help my clients, if they're going for a job interview, I help them bring their CVs to life. So rather than just read the document, which the company who's going to conduct the interview, they already know what their success is, the numbers, the companies they work with. What they need to know is what the person is like. Are they going to be able to work with their own executive? Are they going to be able to motivate their teams? So that's one element of what I do. The other element is I help people present in this environment. Either if it's on a Zoom call, how they present to an audience, or now we can meet people live. So how do we present to a live audience? Are they going to be able to work? Oh, something is coming back via recording. Okay, so that's the key for me. It is how do we influence and persuade people? Understanding, as I say, that first element of the formula, which is people buy emotionally. So we need to connect with them emotionally. How do we do that? By understanding what their real needs are, not the surface need. You know, it's like a symptom. If somebody comes to a doctor and says, you know, I've got a pain in my shoulder, and the doctor says, okay, we'll take 2 tablets and then come and see me in the morning, that isn't really finding out what they need. That's the symptom. And in fact, both the doctor and us, if we are selling a product, service, or ourselves, if all we're doing is treating the symptoms, then we can be sued for malpractice. We need to understand what is the root cause of that particular person's problem. So we need to ask more questions about what is the problem they're seeking. And so we're connecting with them at the emotional level. And then we have to give them a logical reason why to buy our service, our product, or ourselves, how we present ourselves. Now, there is another element to it. And this, for me, is the key to influence and persuasion, is that once we've identified what the pain is that somebody is experiencing, then we can take them to a position of pleasure at a surface level, resolution if it is a difficult problem they're facing, or perhaps the long-lasting thing is happiness, that we are moving them from a position of fear, concern, anxiety, whatever that situation may be, to a position where they are happy to deal with us and they are happy with our lives. Hulan talked about positive intelligence, which is an element. It's a course that's come out of the States, run by a gentleman, a university professor, Harvard University, Shehzad Shamin. And he looks at the reactions that we have to those voices in our heads that prevent us from achieving our peak performance, and are both in terms of professional and also because of our personal reaction. So that's an element of what I do when I work with people who say, I'm so terrified of having to public speak, or I'm not very good over the phone, or I'm not very good in a Zoom situation. So I've uncovered some of that pain that I can take them to a better position, making the emotional connection and then giving some logic of how they can move forward on that. So that is really where I want to go this evening. And I hope that that explains partly of what exactly I do. I'm a salesperson. I teach people how to sell themselves. First, I was on a symposium a few months ago where there were angel investors. And these 2 things that I came away from that symposium really stuck with me. And I'm going to offer it to you as, if you like, the key thing when you are pitching your product, pitching your service, whatever you are doing in terms of influence and persuasion. And what they said is this: regardless of what you are pitching, you are the product. People buy people first. We know that as a universal truth. So we have to be able to present ourselves effectively. The other element of that is that they like to see when people have failed. Because if somebody has failed, if somebody has gone through challenging situations, then they've gained experience. And more than that, they've gained a reserve and a resolution and a way to keep moving forward, a grit and determination, if you like. So how do we influence and persuade? How do we create the stories? And that's the key here. When you are seeking to influence people, it isn't about what you do. It's about what you have done for others. So let me give you a formula, and hands up here, I am very process driven. So I have a formula, I have a framework for the way that I communicate, the way that I teach people. So the first element of any story is this: the incident. What was the overarching incident to explain the process that you went through? Then the second element is action. What did you actually do? And the third and the most important element is the benefit. What is the benefit that you brought to that situation, to that client, to that company? So once again, incident, action, and benefit. And it's a 2-minute storytelling process. So the overarching thing of what the story is about 30 seconds. The majority of the action that you took, explaining what you did in as vivid a way as possible, is about 1 minute and 15 seconds. The last element of it, and it doesn't have to be exactly 2 minutes, but that's about the attention span of most people, is that what was the benefit? What was the result? What, if you like, what was the pain you resolved to take them to a position of happiness, of resolution? So you can see how the first elements that I talked about, the motion to logic, pain to pleasure, forms part of that storytelling narrative. And when you tell stories, instead of saying what you do, what you have done for others, then people can step into that experience. And that's the first element of influence. The persuasion comes when you make the story as relevant as possible to that person that you're speaking to. And again, it goes back to where we started, where it's what is that person's need, not the surface need, but what is the 3 or 4 levels underneath that we need to access by asking questions and asking permission to ask those questions. That is how, first of all, we understand their need, and then see how we can meet that need using those various formulas. Now, I'm very aware of time, so I want to give you another framework, which I call the 4 cornerstones of an effective presentation. Now, this can be on Zoom, it can be in front of the room, or it can be a situation where we need to influence and persuade somebody who is going to hire us. So in a job interview. And these 4 elements are your personal credibility. What is your personal credibility? What gives you the right to talk about or to accept the job? And I say it in that way because if we are going to go for a job, it isn't about give us the job. You know, I need the job. It's about you deciding whether you want to work for that company. Because when you go in with that mindset, and again, it's relative to positive intelligence, which we started to talk about. When you have that kind of mindset about, let me find out if they're the right people I want to work with. So you offer that personal credibility. What is part of your history? What have you achieved? Even if you've just come out of university or you're going through school, you would have done certain things that would have interacted with other people, that would have given you the credibility to say and speak about a particular topic. The second element, and it is rather more for people who have been in various occupations, and you know, nowadays it isn't a question of having one career. I've had many careers. I went from advertising into property, into television presenting, into teaching other people how to present in different environments. So portfolio careers now are about working with different organizations, different companies. So I could say that I've worked with Lego, I've worked with Mothercare, I've worked with British Land, I've worked with many law firms and accountancy practices. So that gives me not only my personal credibility, but by mentioning other companies' names, it gives me the company credibility. Then the third element of the 4 cornerstones is 3 or 4 facts about what you did to help other organizations. And I would say this, you know, the storytelling framework I've just spoken to you about in terms of incident, action, and benefit, it's also a framework for a testimonial. When you ask others for a testimonial for the work that you've done, ask them to identify it in those 3 elements, the incident, action, and benefit. The benefit statement being the most important. What is the problem that they brought to you that you resolved, and what was the advantage that they gained from working with you in any environment, personally or in a larger organization? So you can see again where the emotional content, the logical content, which is the 3 to 4 facts. The last element of it is the most essential of all, WIFM. Now, that's not a radio station. WIF means what's in it for me. Because, and that by me, I mean mutuality of purpose. What's in it for me and what's in it for them. Again, coming right the way back to that immediate and initial discussion we had about what does it mean to them? What is their need? How can you satisfy that need? So I hope that gives you some indication of those 4 key elements of making any presentation. Personal credibility, what right do you have to talk about what you're talking about, to sell what you're selling, or to speak about why you should be employed? The companies that you've worked with, the company credibility, what you've achieved for those companies. Again, not just the numbers, not just the names of the companies, but how you've worked with teams, how you've worked with individuals. Today, it is about communicating effectively. And the other element about the 3 to 4 key facts, that would be on those CVs. That would be the turnover. That would be the time that you save for people or the impact you had on an organization. And that last element, what's in it for me? What's in it for them? Whenever we are in an interview situation and we place ourselves in the other person's shoes so that they understand exactly what our collaboration can mean to them, that is a real influencer, and that's a real persuasive element. So I hope in this very short period of time, you've got 2 key facts and 2 key frameworks that is going to help you on your journey, not to sell, but to influence and persuade by the stories that you tell, by the advantage that they will gain by working with you. There's just in these last 5 minutes or so, I just want to give you one further framework, which is, I suppose what we talked about is how we present ourselves, what is the content of our presentation. I want to give you what I call the 4 E's plus 1, which is actually how do we present? How do we deliver our information? And so these are the 4 E's. The first is we need to engage with people. And we need to engage with them in just 7 seconds if you're making a presentation, either on Zoom or even at the front of the room. It's more relevant in Zoom because the majority of times you can't see people, as is the situation here. Kishore is the only person I can actually see. But otherwise, it's just blank screen. So we've got to engage with people immediately. The next E is to enlighten people. What is it that they need to know? Again, that needs to be thinking about them. And enlightenment comes in 3 ways. What is it they need to know? What is it that they don't know that you can tell them? And what is the third thing? FOMO, fear of missing out. What are other companies, what are other people doing that they're not doing? That's one of the greatest motivators of all. So it's engage, enlighten. And this, I hope I've done for you, is to entertain. Doesn't mean you've got to do a song and a dance or tell a joke. It helps if you can, but to entertain, if you've got an audience, they want to be entertained. The 4th E is to excite. If you're not excited about what you're talking about, how are you going to engage with them? How are you going to excite them? So those are 4 key elements. And the last one, the plus 1, is this: emotion. You've heard me talk about that. You need to be emotionally connected with your audience and be able to tap into their emotion. So I hope that's giving you some ideas of not about selling, because people hate being sold to. When I was working with QVC, they sent me to America. And in America, selling is a profession. In other parts of the world, it's regarded with suspicion. So just be aware of the audience you're talking to and to adapt your style to that audience, be it an audience of many or just one. So I hope that gives you an idea. I hope it makes you think differently how we present ourselves, how we sell ourselves effectively. And my wish for you is that you engage with people effectively, you understand what their needs are, and I wish you great success in all your ventures. Thank you for listening to me.
Wonderful session. Thank you so much, Dexter. So that's very informative, and also that's I can hear the experience from the words that are used. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And now we are open for questions. If you wish to interact with Dexter, you feel free to unmute if you wish to ask or just share your insights.
This is Sheetal. Thank you so much, Dexter. I don't know how to come on video because there's no option here, but every single word you said, I absorbed and I agree with it, and it's like incredible. Thank you so much. And exactly within even like 25 minutes, you've given us potent. I was thinking it was like an essential oil, one drop of ginger essential oil is enough for the whole, the smell, the feeling, the power to convey. And you did exactly that. Do you have any YouTube?
Yes, I do. I would say also this, if it helps, I'm going to show you just a little bit of a pamphlet. It's called Dexter's Little Red Book of QVC Selling Secrets. Some of the processes that we've talked about this evening, I'm very happy to send you that. If you email me, my email address is dexter@dextermoscow.co.uk. And then I'll send you what is a PDF in essence, but it goes into a little bit more detail about the topics we've discussed tonight. I do have a YouTube channel, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Would love you to do that.
I will. Thank you so much. And every single thing you were saying, I want to elaborate more on that, and I hope you can come back for a full 1 hour session.
That's very kind. And I love your analogy of ginger because that adds spice to it. And we need to have a little bit of spice in the heat, don't we?
So true.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Who has the next question?
Actually, I can go ahead with the next question if anybody.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So when you were talking about that precise thing, like you could, like I feel ready with in every aspect that you're talking about, but I'm stopping myself from that, imposter syndrome, as in like, whoa, I didn't go to university for this. I have my degree and master's in something else. How? But everybody else is seeing what, you know, that one analogy of you are who you think you are like what the other person sees you are, and then there is that real person of you are kind of thing. So and many people could come with a list of like, I've done this, and have a long resume, but in the first few minutes or even few seconds, you just like, okay, the paper is different from the person that you met. So how do you?
It's interesting. I apologize for interrupting you. It's very interesting what you're saying about imposter syndrome. I recently read a book by an illusionist. His name is Darren Brown, and he wrote a book called Happy. And in it, he said that everybody should have an element of imposter syndrome because it makes us work harder. The reality or feel more that we need to convey information. The truth is, I get nervous every time I make a presentation like this. Not because I'm frightened about what I'm going to say, it's am I giving you the right information that's going to be helpful to you? So I would say this to you, and it is also an element of positive intelligence, which I talked about. If there are voices in your head that say to you, you're not worthy, you're going to make an idiot of yourself, you're going to fail, then those are lies. It's a lie being told by our life experience, because the essence of who you were when you were a child is still there. And it gets covered, if you like, by layers of grime or layers of life. So think of yourself as a child, and the wonder and the hunger for information and knowledge that you had when you were a little one. And then just say anything that says other than supporting me is a lie, because it is. It is either a judgmental voice, we don't know who that may be or where it comes from, but there's also other saboteurs that happen that we can perhaps discuss in greater depth. One of my saboteurs, illustrated in Positive Intelligence, is what they call a stickler, somebody who has to get 100% right, a perfectionist. Perfection is for the gods. It is not for us. So if we can step back for that and get 70% of it right,
Yes.
that's good enough.
Yes. I completely agree. I mean, you resonate like anything, and you have no idea how you were the perfect voice I needed to hear today. So, yeah, I look forward to connecting with you again.
With
Thank you so
pleasure.
much, Dexter.
With pleasure. Who has the next question?
Thank you very much. Yeah, if there is another question, feel free to put it on the chat or in the Q&A section. So Dexter can respond it to us while we are listening to the next exciting topic for today. This is still about regarding sale, but it's different. All right, it works on avatars. It works on a different system. So marketing in the metaverse. So this is metaverse marketing allows brands to maximize their creativity and reach their target audience more attractively. So this will be delivered by Kishore Dharmarajan. He is a metaverse expert with 100,000 LinkedIn fans and also a CEO of bridgemeta.com and SEO SOUQ.com and 21 um, plus years of experience and worked with Saatchi, HSBC, Mindshare, and WSI before starting his company. He's a great digital marketing expert, and he's also certified Google AdWords expert. And other than that, he'll be sharing a bit of himself and deliver with the talk. You can take over, Kishore. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. My name is Kishore Dhanrajan, and just like Dexter, I too have an advertising background. So I used to work as a copywriter in Saatchi and various other agencies. When the digital trends came along, I transitioned and moved into the digital space. And I used to work with a Canadian company called WSI. And one of my hobbies, because I have a copywriting background, was to post stories on LinkedIn. So at that point of time, LinkedIn had just come up with the ability to write content on LinkedIn. I did a story on LinkedIn and I got a call from a company. I went for the meeting. All of this happened in 24 hours. And we got a contract from that. And the company which I was working for, WSI, actually got the contract. And I thought to myself on the way back from that meeting that I never called anyone on the phone. I didn't send any cold emails. I didn't do anything. I just sat down with a cup of coffee and I wrote a story on LinkedIn and someone picked it up. And that led to a meeting and then finally turned into a monetary thing. So sale happened. So I thought it's very easy to get sales. Why don't I quit my job and start an agency and see what happens? So that's exactly what I did in 2016. I quit my job and I started an agency called SEO Souk, and I started posting stories on LinkedIn. And it started getting picked up quite fast. So one of the advantages of LinkedIn, and this could be quite insightful for a lot of you, is that it contains a lot of corporate people, senior people, decision makers, and they all have a great disadvantage, which is they all work for large companies. And when you work for a large company, you have a hierarchy to report to. So you can't just go and post on LinkedIn whatever comes to your mind. You need to take approvals. So the more senior you are in your organization, the more approval levels you have to go through. So LinkedIn is one of those spaces where there are a lot of people and only a small percentage of people are actually content creators. And if you have a sharp mind, if you have a different kind of perspective, and if you have the ability to use words, and if you can combine that with emotions, stories, it's a very easy platform to get as much traction as you wish. So today morning, I posted a story on LinkedIn. It has been read by almost 10,000 people by the end of day. And more importantly, I just wait for calls from those stories. So there are links to a Calendly app to book an appointment with me. and there's my phone number. So I wait, I make a post, and then I wait for people to call me and reach out to me, and then we have a discussion and I convert that into business. So this is a bonus tip which I'm giving you, and it's not related to the metaverse. So one thing which I keep doing on LinkedIn is I keep doing polls, asking people what are they worried about in recent times. And yesterday's poll about metaverse, NFTs, and IoT, big data and all of that revealed that metaverse is one thing which people are, especially senior people, are worried about. They feel that technology is moving very fast. They're getting left behind. They can't really figure out what this metaverse thing is, and sounds very complex, sounds very technical. But the good news is that technology is actually moving very slow. It's not moving fast. We are getting an impression that technology is moving fast, but it's dragging its feet. It's moving very slow. And how can I say that? If you look at social media kind of evolved 20 years ago. So it took 20 years for people to discover that, seeing those images, seeing those posts, seeing those videos is kind of getting boring. So let's do something exciting. So let's get into this space. Let's have an avatar. Let's move in a 3D environment. Let's have an immersive kind of experience. So this metaverse thing is going to take another 20 years before it evolves into something. So it's a very slow process which is happening. And this will be a big relief to many of you out there who are constantly feeling that, I'm hearing all these buzzwords about NFT and blockchain and crypto and metaverse. I'm feeling outdated, but actually you shouldn't be, because all of this is moving very slow and anyone can catch up with what's happening. So if you break down the metaverse, it's just it's just a duplication of real life into the online space. So if you have played 3D games, you have actually experienced metaverse, and it's just that crypto has come along, blockchain has come along, and it has fused with this virtual world, and it has made it slightly more complex. There's not, but nothing major. It's not rocket science actually. So how do you market on metaverse, since many brands are moving into the metaverse space? So how do you take advantage? You just need to watch what the big brands are doing. What are they doing? So Nike, for example, has created Nike Land, which is a virtual space where you can go and you can pick up their latest sneakers. You can hang around and do all of this cool stuff. So how do you get there? It's very easy. You get on one of these platforms. Either you go into Sandbox or in Roblox, or you sign up with Decentraland and just explore all of these areas and see what's happening on those spaces. And you will easily come across all the activities which these brands are doing. But getting the attention of the audience is a different thing. And this is where the foundation of marketing, which is emotional selling and reaching out to people's desires and incentivizing them, fear of missing out, all those factors again play out in the metaverse, just like it does in the offline space. So that is a different story. But if you're a brand and you want to take advantage of the metaverse, one of the first sites that you would visit is Bidstack. That's BIDSTACK.com. So what does this site do? The site has teamed up with many 3D environments. And for a fee, they will place your ads on virtual football grounds. So just like you have these banners in the football ground where people are playing football and you have all those banners and hoardings, in the virtual space, when people are playing virtual games, they start seeing your virtual ads around those. And you might think that are there actually people in this virtual space? You'd be very surprised that they did. There was a concert recently which had close to 40 million people all around the globe attending that. So the virtual space actually has got a lot of eyeballs. So brands which have the budgets should definitely explore this site, which is Bidstack. I'm not connected with them, but they seem to be having ads placed at all the right spots, and we have used them for one of our clients, and it did work out quite well. Now, a little bit of warning for digital advertising, as you know, overall digital advertising is a very, very difficult space to get an ROI. So, for example, if you're advertising on Google, if you're advertising on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, all these channels, they have made it in such a way that it feels like, it's easy to go in, just swipe your credit card, use $5, start advertising, start getting coverage and all of that. But that is actually a myth. You really can't go into any of those spaces and hope to make an ROI, because it's kind of saturated environment. And because a lot of brands are competing to outcompete your competitor and to reach the right audience with the right message at the right time is actually not an easy thing. Now, my company got its traction by positioning itself as a 700% ROI agency, and that is something which doesn't exist in many parts of the world. So we got instant traction because people came to us and said, okay, here is my $10,000, convert that into 7x and let's see what happens. So how do we do that? For us, we analyze the Google Analytics or web trends or omnichannel, and we look at what kind of ROI they have been getting in the past. And if there is some life out there, so for example, if they're spending $1,000 and they're able to get back at least $1,000 back, we kind of know that there is a process which is ripe for improvement, and then we can go and tweak things and we can get an ROI. But if the client doesn't have any ROI, they're not tracking anything, they just clueless, they don't have analytics installed, so there is no ROI guarantee on that. So if you are getting into the metaverse or the digital space, you should take it very, very slowly, like they say, with a bit of salt, because getting an ROI from these spaces is actually not very easy. Now, look at a platform like YouTube. They have more advertising space than probably any other media out there. And they have so much of inventory, advertising inventory, that 90% of YouTube inventory kind of goes unsold every day. So, which means if they have 100 million views, it's just that 10 million views are being sold off. The rest is all going without ads. So there is a lot of opportunity on YouTube. Unfortunately, it's like an ocean. So when you start advertising on YouTube, you kind of get lost, as if you're a fishing boat in an ocean and trying to catch fish. You can imagine what will happen. You'll get lost, your money will get spent, and you'll not be able to get an ROI. Now, getting awareness and all of that is there, but converting awareness into sales is actually a very, very different thing. So that is something which you have to be wary about. So two things, two surprises which I have given you is that technology is not moving fast. It's actually slow. It's dragging its feet. So anyone can make sense of the metaverse, NFTs, blockchain. These are all very simple technologies to grasp and to take advantage of. The second thing is that getting an ROI from your campaigns, whether it is on metaverse or it is in the digital space, is actually a myth. It's not easy to do that. It's just that the people who have built these systems, like Google and Facebook, they are the smartest engineers in the world, the most highly paid, very clever people. So what they have done is they have made it look very, very simple so that anyone can go in and start playing around and mostly losing money because it's a saturated space, not very easy to get an ROI. But that's not a blanket statement. It doesn't mean that people are not making money. People, of course, are making a lot of money. It's just that it takes a lot of strategy and focus to get an ROI from these platforms. And of course, it goes back to the basics of marketing, which is looking at your target audience, trying to figure out what are the pain points, and trying to see where your brand can address those pain points, and then finding the right channel to speak to them at the right point. And more importantly, losing money on your front end or your lead loss and making it up on your back end. That is actually where the action is. You can actually only make money on the back end of the digital space, and that is because of the competition between brands. So all that Google and Facebook have done is that they've ensured that you're not going to make money on your front end. It's going to be at your back end. And this is where brands kind of they lose the connect between the first initial sale and the second sale. And uh, if I tell you the amount of times I have been in meetings where I keep telling brands, especially marketing directors, and telling them that hey, you might lose money on your front end, and you'll be able to make it back at the back end. People don't listen to that. That logic doesn't sell because the back end is not really visible to anyone, and no one wants to track it. It's too complex. Everyone wants to make money on the front end, and that's one of the biggest challenges of the marketing space online. So on Roblox, that's one another platform which you have to be really familiar with. So Gucci did a garden experiment over there on Roblox, the same place where Nike Land also had their event. So Roblox is one very good platform that you all need to explore. My personal favorite is Decentraland. Now, on Decentraland, what you can do is you can buy land parcels, because these land parcels are connected with the blockchain. So you pay in mana, which is a token. So you convert your dollars or rupees or your dirhams into mana, and then you buy up your land parcels. And because of Snoopy Dogg, his fame, and he bought a big plot of land on Decentraland, or the area around Snoopy Dogg's house and mansion and all is getting picked up. It's just like in the real world, where if celebrity buys a property, everything else, all the property around that also gets attention. So the same thing is happening in Decentraland. So the big takeaway from all of this is that everything that we are seeing in the metaverse is just a reflection of what we are seeing in the real life. So already we are having gender discrimination, and we are having harassment happening on the metaverse, where male avatars have harassed female avatars. And Facebook, as you know, is leading the charge into the metaverse, have rebranded themselves into Meta, and they have the Horizons world, which is going to be where all the action is. So in the Horizons world, what they have done is around the avatars, there is a certain space that you cannot enter. So if you're a male avatar approaching a female avatar, there's a certain space that is there between both of you, and this comes out of the sexual harassment which happened already. So what we are seeing over there is just a reflection of what we are seeing in the offline space. So if there are problems in the real world, it's just getting reflected onto the metaverse. But because metaverse is a created world, it's a 3D world, people can kind of control that much easier than they can control a real life. So that is something that we have to keep in mind. The last platform that I want to bring to your attention is Fortnite. Again, a very game-based environment, and as many of you know, games are where the metaverse is headed towards. So it's a gaming environment, and gaming enthusiasts and brands that are associated with games are actually taking the lead in this space. And already these 4 or 5 players have taken up all their space. So for Fortnite, Sandbox, you have Axie Infinity. So Axie Infinity is another one which is very popular, especially in Philippines. There was a certain article recently we said as a small percentage of people in Philippines are actually getting their main income from playing Axie Infinity. So these are some of the trends which we are seeing. We also have the Roblox, and as I also discussed, Bitstack is the platform that can get you started in the metaverse marketing space. But everything comes back to the basics, whether it is in the metaverse, whether it is on YouTube, whether it is in social media, TikTok. All of these platforms have the same problem, which is the target audience or the sale that you want is not easily visible. So all these platform owners have made it in such a way that you don't get your sale easily. They are all hidden behind different layers. So in the olden days, you could actually hire someone to go and buy a list, a mailing list, and then you could send a mailer to people, and then you could get sales immediately out of that. We have had some great case studies from that, and then it moved into the TV space, where you had just like what Dexter said, the QVC and all of those things, catalog selling and all of that. And now it has moved into the online space on social media and the upcoming metaverse. But the basics of marketing has not really changed, and probably it might not change. It's just that the media is changing. So my main insight that I can give is that many people, especially as the people get older, they get frightened by the changes happening in the world around them. Like they feel that the technology is moving fast. Oh, younger people are able to operate mobiles. I can't figure out actually what's happening. But actually, you should be quite relaxed because the reality is that technology is actually moving very slow, much slower than we think it is. It's just a myth that we feel that technology is moving fast. So you don't have to be really worried about all of this. So the new technologies will just come up like the metaverse, NFT. In one afternoon, you can sit down and you can actually grab everything that you want to know about these new platforms. But where the real money is in figuring out how to use these channels to your advantage. So if you're a business owner trying to get people into a footfall into your store, that is a very different story. And this is where you have to pay a lot of attention because hiring a young person to post something on Facebook, on Instagram and TikTok, I think that's a really stupid idea to do that because that is not going to get you any traction. What is really going to help you is sitting down with your customer and trying to understand what are the problems that your customer is facing, and is your brand able to actually solve their problems, or is it actually talking to their aspirations? So where does your brand connect with the customer, finding that out and converting that into really solid messages, and then just spending all of your time, energy and money on focusing on just one channel where your customer is hanging out. So if he's on LinkedIn, for example, my customers are on LinkedIn, and that's why I just post on LinkedIn. I don't have, for example, a TikTok account. I'm not active on Instagram. I'm actually active on Facebook because I have a very large group there. But I have actually neglected all of the other channels like TikTok and all of that because my audience is on LinkedIn. So I post every day on LinkedIn. Get like 10, 50, 100,000 people reading my post, sharing it, booking appointments with me, and making calls and all of that. So that is might that is a strategy which might work for you too. So just avoid all the noise around you. Sit with your customer, find out their problems, find out your perfect marketing message, come up with your USP, make it strong enough, come up with great ideas, and just concentrate on one channel. So if your channel is cold calling or if your channel is cold emailing, just do that. If it's LinkedIn, concentrate on that. If you want to do an event on Fortnite, do that. But of course, these new channels are quite expensive when compared to the existing channels. And that's like, when any new trend comes, it comes with a cost. So probably having an event like Nike Land or what Gucci did probably might not be budget friendly for SMEs and mid-sized player. So these are something which the larger uh, players, because they have large budgets, they can afford to blow up some budgets. So, for example, JP Morgan Chase and HSBC have built up or building up their next offices on Decentraland. So you can walk into their office, you'll have their the receptionist avatar speaking to you, giving you the information that you require. So all of that is happening, and the large brands are moving there because they have the budgets. But if you're a smaller brand, possibly better to concentrate on just one channel and crack the message, get the sales, get the ROI. And once you get the ROI, there's nothing stopping you from scaling up. So if you put in $1,000, get $7,000 back, and you are making a net revenue of 30%, double everything. Put in $2,000, get $14,000 back, and still keep getting the revenue and just scale it up from there. So that's my overall advice. To connect with me, you can always check Kishore Dharmarajan on LinkedIn, or you can be a part of my group on Facebook. It's called Digital Marketing Dubai. We have 46,000 members over there, so it's a very interesting time. Thank you, everyone, and have a great evening. Over to you, team.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kishore. So another wonderful topic. So you forgot to mention your website. That's seosook.com. And those
Yes.
for who haven't searched yet, Souk, SOUQ means a market. So that's in Dubai. So
That's correct.
yeah, for questions, please feel free again to unmute yourself or just send messages to the chat or the Q&A section to interact with Kishore.
Hi Kishore, this is Sai here. Great session so far. What's your opinion about SeekVR? Have you looked at that Metaverse platform anytime?
You had mentioned CQA.
SeekVR, CEEKVR, C for cat.
Okay, so this is a platform which I'm not familiar with. There are multiple platforms coming up. In fact, we have developed our own platform called Borj Meta, and it's a small metaverse where people can come and they can pay their bills, for example. And when they pay their bills, they get tokens, and these tokens will help them to get a ticket to Mars when Elon Musk is ready with that. So that's the idea behind that. It's a fun environment which we are creating. It's in beta. So a lot of smaller platforms are coming up like that. And so I'm not really familiar with
So,
this platform which you mentioned.
SeekVR was the first one to come in the metaverse to talk in 2017 or 2016, if I'm not wrong. Before the Decentraland, Sandbox, all these papers came in. I know this because I was part of their paper and all that. I was trying
Yeah,
to
that's good.
based on your
Yeah.
based on your understanding on the space and all that. I was trying to understand if you have looked at it. Was it something? What was your thoughts around it and all that? I wanted to understand because the way you have articulated and talked about some of these things, which felt me to understand what's your opinion. I just wanted to understand your opinion on that. Not immediately, since you said you could not look at it, but after when you get a chance, when you get time to look at it, if you can give us a feedback, that would be great too.
Definitely, definitely. And one of the earliest metaverses was Second Life, which had started in 2000. So
That
like
was
22
too
years ago.
early. That was too early, like
Yes,
your phone, right?
it was too early,
Too
very, very early for the
early.
times, and nobody thought it's going to take off. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
One of the
metaverse, and this is precisely what I'm saying, which is things are moving slow. So metaverse has been around for 22 years, and now people are getting excited about this technology. So nothing to be worried about. You don't have, you need, don't need to have FOMO. So it's a very slow process.
The problem is without knowing people are having FOMO. That's the problem.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. The coins are all so many coins right now. I think they have crossed 3,800 coins right now in the
Yes,
market, right? And
that's
I
correct.
came to know today after asking you this question, I came to know about your beta coin actually.
Great.
Thank
Thank you. Thanks.
Sure.
Right. Any other would like to share their insight and also yeah, if you're
Yes,
curious about
I'd just like to ask you one question. Uh, Kishore, are you planning to make your Bush Meta interoperable for with other chains?
So my own metaverse is called Burj Meta, and the idea behind Burj Meta is we are trying to bring fun to business because all the other metaverses are a fun environment where people go to play games and things like that, hang around and all of that, clubbing kind of environment. Ours is where it's a serious environment where you can go to pay your bills, and because you're doing that, you are getting tokens, and the tokens can be converted at a later stage into your ticket to the Mars. That's the whole concept. So different metaverses will have different ideas. So Horizon World by Facebook is again taking a workplace kind of theme where you can go into your office, you can have a Zoom meeting, and the Zoom meeting happens inside your virtual office, so you can look at your colleagues. The only thing the metaverse, their metaverse doesn't have is people don't have legs, so you can't walk. You're floating around, So you have only a body, upper body. You don't have the lower body because the lower body is complex for the metaverse. So that is the only fun thing about Horizon World by Facebook.
Okay, great. And what about the hardware enhancements that are happening right now with all these metaverse? Actually, I heard that they recently solved some critical problems with the latency of internet for VR devices. And that is going to transform with the next version of VR and AR headsets, which can be potentially in the market in 2024. Uh, they are going to be much having much better experience than what we have now.
Yeah, I think when you break down things are becoming things become more. There is more clarity when you break it down. So, for example, I always tell people that never talk about VR and AR in the same breath, because these are two totally different industries. It's like talking about oil and gas as if it's one industry. So AR totally different to VR. And the news that I can give you is, although augmented reality is the one which is more beneficial to society. So, for example, using augmented reality, students can go and see how a rocket engine works, so they can become better engineers. Or medical students can see the working of veins and the medical, the DNA structure of medicines and things like that. So it's more helpful for society. But augmented reality is kind of losing the race, and virtual reality is winning the race. Virtual reality probably has got less of a use. It's more into gaming, entertainment, and things like that. But the human race per se is not able to take right judgments. So we are seeing that VR is losing the race, and augmented reality is losing the race, and virtual reality is winning. So people talk about AR and VR in one breath, but they are going in totally different directions.
VR mostly. My question apps to VR mostly because of the headsets and all that is involved in the whole application development, or the gaming engines ready for the uh, newer headsets, and are there enough skilled people in the market for everyone stepping into VR and building VR apps compatible to the new ones? Is there enough resources out there?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And if you look at the hiring process, you'll see that a lot of engineers are moving towards virtual reality, especially from the FANG companies. The top engineers, when they move, they are moving to the Web3 space. So virtual reality is getting some of the best brains in the market, and augmented reality is not getting as much attention. The sad reality is that augmented reality can help society more than virtual reality. But often we don't look at the benefits when a trend happens. So it's moving more towards entertainment, gaming, gambling. All the unwanted or the entertaining stuff is definitely getting the attention in the virtual world, and augmented reality is getting behind. So if you're a programmer, it might be better to move into virtual reality, because that's where the action is happening.
Yeah, mind has a tendency to encourage bad things.
Thank you. So if anyone has any further questions, I'd be happy. Otherwise, I would leave it to the host and the other panelists to take it.
Sure. What's your site name and your LinkedIn and other contact information?
So my LinkedIn name is Kishore Dharmarajan. That's Kishore and Dharmarajan. My website is SEO Souk, SOUQ. And on Facebook, we have a group called Digital Marketing Dubai, which has got 46,000 members. And it's probably one of the biggest in this region. And we have very active conversations over there regarding marketing and digital and trends and things like that.
Is it possible to put in chat section?
Yes, definitely. Yes, I can put it in the chat right now, so it would be easy for everyone
Yes.
to.
Thank you.
Okay, that is perfect. Well, thank you so much for the efforts of everyone. I There is no other questions, I believe so. So yeah, we'll just deliver a closing since we're all good and done. Thank you so much, speakers, for the maximum effort and the information, and also sharing your experience to us, Dexter and Kishore. And for collaborations, or if you want to talk with them offline, you can visit their LinkedIn and their websites as written on the chat. And also, here's Dexter's website and also the email if you wish to get in touch with him. And also, as mentioned earlier, we also have our youth webinars. So that happens every other Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So there are preparation sessions which you can join every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can register at our website. That's letustalkit.com/youth. So we're looking forward also for your support for our youth group, for them to do the same and imparting what they have learned to the public. All right. So thank you again, everyone. And we hope to see you again next Wednesday, the same time, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And we all hope you take care and be safe as always. Thank you so
Yeah.
much and all the best.
Thank you, everyone. Have a
I
great
don't see
day.
the
Bye.
information in the chat.